Rod, you can take the lead on this question. How do you feel about the mask mandates and vaccine mandates imposed by Governor Jay Inslee during the pandemic?
I would have been very disappointed if you hadn't asked, Colin, because you heard where I stood. The governor has overextended his power. The governor is not a dictator. The governor is the governor. However, the legislature has failed to challenge him. And mask mandates, any mandate, we've been in this emergency situation now for 18 months. And I would think by now, we should be getting a handle on it sufficiently that we can, without one-man rule here, take care of things. What do I think about masks? When I talked about civil disobedience, I was talking about a simple question that you and I had talked about. The question is why? Is all of this necessary, this lockdown destroying our small businesses? That's what I was taking issue with.
Thanks, Rod. JJ?
Well, I'm not sure how a mask mandate hurts business. I mean, it's not a big deal to wear a mask. I do it a lot. As far as mandates, the state of Washington has been mandating the MMR vaccine in schools for a long time. This is not anything out of the ordinary. What is out of the ordinary is the pandemic. The Delta variant has just knocked us for a loop, put us in a situation where if we don't get vaccines and if we don't mask up, we're actually creating an environment for another variant. And sooner or later, there will be a variant that we don't survive from. So, you know, when there's a stop sign at the end of the road that's inconvenient, you don't just decide to run it. You abide by laws. We're a nation of laws. And you don't just decide the ones that you like are the ones you're going to pay attention to.
Thanks, JJ. Rod, anything you'd like to add?
We were a nation of laws. I'm not so sure about that anymore. Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's so much conflicting information out there, it's hard to know who is right and who is wrong. And I heard a comparison that that a mask is like trying to catch a mosquito in a chain link fence. And with most masks out there, that might not be too far off. I don't know. Is a mask a symbol of compliance, or is it actually an effective thing to ward off the COVID germs?
Thanks, Rod. JJ, you can take the lead on this one. So last fall, the Spokane Board of Health fired our health officer at the time, Dr. Bob Lutz, the man who had been leading the health district's response to the pandemic. Do you agree with the board's decision to fire Dr. Lutz?
I don't think we have all the information, so it's impossible for me to really answer that. There was a substantial amount of information that was presented only to the individuals who were voting. There were several people on that panel that I respect. I was very much surprised with the vote, I will admit that. But if we don't have all the information, then it's impossible for us to argue with the determination that they made. I'd also like to make one point. Masks don't stop the virus. They stop water droplets that encase the virus. They're not intended to stop a virus. That's just kind of a point of fact there.
Thanks, JJ. Rod?
Well, Dr. Lutz needed to go. The manner in which he went was not pretty, but the fact that he went was necessary.
That's all you're
No,
you're good?
to get further into there was, again, as James has pointed out here, that we don't know everything, but there's enough out there to know that this went beyond competence in office. Okay, so leave it at that.
JJ, anything to add?
I am excited that they're considering making some changes on the panel. We want to make sure that it's not a political body, that it's a health body. And hopefully we take a strong look at that and they make some changes to ensure that we don't have political decisions making health determinations for our community.
Thank you. One of the issues that comes up at Spokane Valley City Council meetings most often is homelessness. Today, people experiencing homelessness in Spokane Valley, for the most part, have to travel to Spokane for services. They have to travel to Spokane definitely for shelter beds because there is no shelter within Spokane Valley city limits. Rod, do you think there should be a shelter in Spokane Valley city limits?
Mhm. Well, as you read in your paper the other day, my position is that if a person wants and is willing and is working toward getting out of homelessness, which unfortunately the great percentage of homeless don't seem to be, then we're more than willing to help them. But to have a shelter so that they have a place to go, I have difficulty buying that. We tend to end up with places like Balfour Park, for instance, where citizens who pay for the park are afraid to go to take their children, grandchildren, because you never know what you're going to find if you walk into one of the bathrooms, or if you happen to be by one of those people. You don't know what you're getting. Okay, so I don't want to make this an inviting place for them as downtown Spokane has become.
JJ?
First of all, one of those people, they're people. A good percentage of the homeless in our area, according to the recent data, are local. They're not coming from other areas. They're from here. A lot of them have had bad luck. A lot of them are veterans. A lot of them need just a hand up. Now, I agree that there is going to be a certain percentage of individuals who are bilking the system, and that is wrong. And we need to do what we can to prevent that. But there are a lot of people who just simply need to get going back in the right direction. I don't know about building a shelter. I think this is a regional problem and we need to get together with our regional partners and find a sensible solution for it.
Rod, anything to add?
Our regional partners are noted for their off-time comments that Spokane Valley doesn't pack its share. As a matter of fact, we do. Those beds you were talking about downtown, we pay for a lot of those, okay? Yes, the money that we get from the federal and state agencies, we hand over to the county, who hands it over mostly to the city. And as a result, we don't get credit for a lot of the good work that we do in that area.
Thank you, Rod. Next question for you guys. Spokane Valley is growing. It's been growing a lot in the last few decades. I haven't even been here that long, but a lot of the times when you talk to people who have lived in Spokane Valley for a long time, they'll lament the loss of farmland, the loss of open space as the city continues to grow. Some people use the phrase urban sprawl when talking about the valley. What do you think Spokane Valley should do specifically at the local level that it can do to manage growth?
Is that mine? I'm sorry.
You're up, JJ.
Okay. First of all, planning is good. Spending several years on the planning commission taught me that. You can do a tremendous amount of planning to help develop higher density where you've got the urban corridors, you've got the mass transit, that kind of thing. You know, you talk about change. I've been here since 1963. I have seen change. And yes, there's a lot of farmland that is gone, but there's a lot of people now that live in this city. We used to be a rural environment. Now we're a city. We need to act like a city. We need to plan like a city. We need to promote our opportunities like a city. We want to make sure that we protect those neighborhoods that have the large lots that the Valley is famous for, the kind of lots that I grew up in. But planning is really the best movement going forward.
Thanks, JJ. Rod?
That's correct. Planning is moving forward the best way to go. However, as we go down that road, we've got to make darn sure that the economics of the situation, the large lots that you're talking about, they are nice if you can keep them. However, it becomes very attractive along the way to infill. I've got more land here than I need, so I put another lot in the back. I divide up, and so we start filling in. We're back to the urban growth management, okay? And if we have the room, that's wonderful. But Thomas Wolfe said it, you can't go home again. The Valley as it once was, we'll never see it again. It's in a lot of ways sad, but we are the 10th largest city in the state. And you know what? We're destined to go up that ladder by quite a bit.
Anything to add, JJ?
Urban fill-in is definitely important. And I think that we've made some changes in our zoning and our land use along the corridors that will allow a lot of that. We've got to protect those neighborhoods with the large lots. We just can't have that quality of life lost. We've got to make sure we protect those while we're allowing the infill in other areas and building up where we can.
Thank you. Next question for you guys is about roads. So Spokane Valley in recent years has been collecting money through a telephone tax to pay for road maintenance. And over time, that tax has brought in less and less money every year. City staff say that the Valley needs to double its spending on road maintenance to ensure that city roads don't fall into disrepair. How should the city pay for that maintenance? That's an increase from $8 million to $16 million a year. Rod, you're up.
I take issue with the $16 million figure, although it's above 10 probably. Simple fact is that right now, the telephone tax was a good idea, but from the day it was passed, the tax started going south. And right now it's probably about 2/3 of, or 1/3 of what it was. And it's not filling the bill at all. I read in the paper that JJ is for taking it out of the general fund. The city of Spokane has taken their money out of the general fund. And I don't think that's really been a good result. I haven't been down to Spokane lately, but when I have, the roads I've been on down there have not been great. How to pay for it? There's a study going on right now as we speak, and we should have some results a little later this year.
Thanks, Rod. JJ?
So in the 2016 State of the City address, Mayor Rod Higgins talked about this problem. Nothing happened until the power on the city council changed and they started the group to come up with a sustainability solution. I'm not going to argue with staff about the value of the cost to do what we need to do. But from what I saw in Adam Jackson's presentation here a week or so ago, we've only really been taking care of the main arterials. There's a lot of neighborhood streets that have not been taken care of. Now, back when we did the interview, Colin, I thought at that time that we should be able to use existing funding. We're going to have a 65% surplus fund balance after 2022. that alone will take care of a year or so. There are other ways of doing it.
Thanks, JJ.
If,
Rod?
if you take the money, and by the way, the 50% is subtracted from that and the remaining.
Right.
If you take that money, that means that the parks that you love so well, you don't buy them anymore because you don't have the money because you're fixing your roads. Okay, there's a trade-off in here. And you get low marks for history here, James, because it was my idea to start that thing, that commission that is studying the roads now. Ben Wick appointed the people to it.
Thanks, Rod. So Spokane Valley is a contract city. A lot of people in Spokane Valley are proud of that. And what that essentially means is that instead of having lots of full-time city employees, the city pays private entities, government entities to perform lots of the services that the city needs to get done. And for law enforcement, the city contracts with the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. Right now, like most law enforcement agents or many law enforcement agencies throughout the country, the Sheriff's Office is short-staffed and having difficulty hiring. That's not unique to the Sheriff's Office, but JJ, this one's to you. Do you think Spokane Valley should continue contracting with the Sheriff's Office for law enforcement? Is it time for the city to once again consider having its own police department?
The relationship we have with Spokane County is second to none. There may be some contractual issues that we want to look at when we get back to renegotiating the contract, where the city council has a little bit more control over the chief, even the candidates that are available for the chief. But the cost to start our own police force, buying all the equipment, and then we're going to be duplicating services in administration and administrative level. It really makes zero sense to even consider it. I mean, then you've got pensions to cover. I mean, the cost would be astronomical for us to start our own police force. I can't imagine how any conservative would consider that a viable option.
Thanks, JJ. Rod?
Well, as a matter of fact, JJ, whether you realize it or not, we're already paying for all of those things contractually. So as a matter of fact, being a city of our size, at some point, we have got to be giving some thought to, are we going to have our own police force? Take a look at Liberty Lake, for instance, the city of what, 10,000? And they have their own, works very well. And they don't have nearly the resources that we have. Right now, we are not covered. Well, let me give you an example. When there was rioting last year going on downtown, and we sent people down to help, we were uncovered. We had nobody out here. Had those people not chosen to go to Coeur d'Alene, they could have wreaked havoc here in the valley. Situations like that can't be allowed to exist. Okay, they just can't.
Thanks, Rod. JJ?
Well, that specific example is completely irrelevant. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered whether we had our own police force or not. We probably would have been down there helping out. So it would have been the same situation. The fact that we're possibly short some deputies, same thing whether we have our own police force or not. It's a nonsensical argument. And we're not buying the equipment. We're essentially leasing it, which is substantially different.
Thank you. Based on the amount of time we had, I think I will combine these two questions into one. What is a decision that City Council has made in the last year that you're especially in favor of? And what is a decision that City Council has made in the last year that you are especially opposed to? Rod, this one's to you.
I'm trying to think. I may take the entire minute.
I'm glad I didn't go first.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
No, well, getting our budget back into shape and doing the things necessary to do that, I'm pleased at the way we've recovered. Okay. Things that I'm not particularly pleased with, well, our handling of the road. I started out a long time ago saying I would not vote to take road maintenance out of the general fund. That's why I've consistently voted against it. Even though I understand that right now we've got a gap to fill, I still don't like it. It's not a good road to travel. No pun intended.
Thanks, Rod. JJ?
That's interesting that Rod brought that up. I am very proud of the fact that the city council has passed their budgets. I know that there were a few people who opposed the budget that was being presented because it didn't include a utility tax, which is what Rod has provided before as a solution to the road situation. A utility tax that's more onerous on fixed income individuals, tax businesses. It's almost the same as a B&O tax. I don't think we need that type of situation, and I'm very proud that the city council has passed their budgets without adding that new tax. Things that I'm not happy with. I think the last couple of years, the city council has made some fantastic decisions, and the city is showing the growth. That's why we have Amazon. Not sure I can give you one. Colin, sorry.
It's all right. Thanks, JJ. Yeah, so those are the questions that we had for you. I'd like to thank both of you guys for participating and taking the time out of your evenings to do this, and for abiding by the clock. I appreciate that. And now, let's see. I believe JJ gave his opening statement first. So Rod, you have 30 seconds to make a closing statement.
Well, it's been a very interesting exercise. The ladies have prepared you well, James. No, they really haven't. They've supplied you with misinformation. The utility tax never came up. I think you just pulled that one out of the thin air. Anyway, suffice it to say that my record speaks for itself, and I'm still asking for your vote.
Thank you, Rod. JJ?
I opened tonight's debate with a pretty sharp description of my opponent. To be clear, that's not how I normally would treat a man who has the courage to sit in front rather than in back and take what comes his way. But there's no time given to be subtle, and this is important. We can find sensible solutions for our issues. We can build Spokane Valley together. Please go to my website, jjforspokanevalley.com, and join our team. And when ballots come out in a few weeks, remember, vote for JJ.
All right. Well, again, thank you guys both very much for participating. And for folks watching this, the general election will be on Tuesday, November 2nd. So yeah, again, thank you guys very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
My pleasure.